When someone humiliates you, it's natural to feel an overwhelming urge to react. The immediate emotional response might be anger, frustration, sadness, or even shame. These emotions can push us to lash out, defend our pride, or even retreat into ourselves, believing that we have lost our dignity. But Stoic philosophy, which has withstood the test of time for thousands of years, offers a completely different perspective on how to respond in such moments. The Stoics believe that while we cannot control what others do or say to us, we have complete control over how we choose to respond. This fundamental idea, which is at the heart of Stoicism, can completely change the way we view and handle humiliation, making us more resilient and at peace in the face of adversity. The Stoic response to humiliation begins with a key principle: emotional detachment. This doesn't mean we suppress our emotions or become indifferent to others. Instead, it means that we refuse to let external circumstances control our emotional state. When we are humiliated, the first step is to pause. This moment of stillness is crucial because it gives us the time and space to decide how we want to react. It's easy to be swept up in the heat of the moment, but the Stoics taught that by taking a breath and stepping back, we allow ourselves to separate our emotions from the event itself. This creates a space where we can choose to act in a measured and thoughtful way, rather than reacting impulsively. Seneca, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, was particularly adamant about the importance of controlling one's emotions. In his letters to Lucilius, Seneca often spoke about the necessity of pausing before acting. He wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. This reflects how we often inflate the emotional impact of a situation in our minds, especially when we feel humiliated. When we are insulted or ridiculed, our immediate emotional response can feel all-consuming, but upon reflection, we often realize that the intensity of our feelings was disproportionate to the actual event. By practicing detachment, we recognize that the humiliation is temporary and the emotions tied to it are fleeting. This helps us maintain control over our emotional landscape and prevents us from making rash decisions that we might later regret. Another cornerstone of Stoic thought is the idea that we cannot control other people's actions, but we can control how we react to them. Epictetus, another central figure in Stoicism, famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is incredibly empowering because it means that we have the ability to maintain our peace of mind even in the most difficult circumstances. When someone humiliates us, their behavior is out of our hands. However, how we respond to that behavior is entirely within our control. We can choose to react with anger, retaliation, or defensiveness, or we can choose to remain calm, composed, and unaffected by their actions. The Stoic approach is to focus on our own response rather than getting caught up in the behavior of others. The first reaction many people have when humiliated is to defend themselves, to fight back or to retaliate. However, Stoicism teaches us that this only perpetuates the cycle of negativity. When we react with anger or defensiveness, we are giving power to the other person. We are allowing them to dictate our emotional state, and in doing so, we lose our sense of inner peace. The Stoics believe that our true power lies in our ability to remain virtuous and composed, no matter what others throw our way. Responding to humiliation with grace and dignity is not a sign of weakness, it is a demonstration of strength. By not engaging in the drama or negativity, we can rise above the situation and preserve our sense of self-respect. In his writings, Marcus Aurelius, perhaps the most well-known Stoic philosopher, often reminded himself of the importance of not being swayed by external events. In his meditations, he wrote, "When someone does you wrong, you should not feel sorry for yourself or become upset. Instead, take the opportunity to practice your Stoic virtues." This quote encapsulates the Stoic attitude toward negative experiences. When we are humiliated or insulted, we are being presented with a unique opportunity to demonstrate our wisdom, patience, and self-control. Rather than retaliating or letting the humiliation define us, we have the chance to prove our character by handling the situation with composure and dignity. One of the most profound lessons from Stoic philosophy is the understanding that the actions of others are not a reflection of who we are. When we are humiliated, it's easy to internalize the negative words or actions of others. We might start to believe that their insults define us or diminish our worth. However, the Stoics teach us that this is a grave mistake. We are not defined by how others treat us, nor should we allow their judgments to dictate our self-worth. Instead, we should remember that our value comes from within, from the virtues we cultivate and the choices we make. When we live in alignment with our highest values, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we are not swayed by the opinions or behavior of others. We know that our dignity is not dependent on external validation, and we can maintain our self-respect regardless of how others treat us. A key part of responding to humiliation with Stoic wisdom is the practice of empathy. Stoicism encourages us to view others' actions not as personal attacks, but as reflections of their own struggles, fears, and limitations. When someone humiliates us, we might consider the possibility that their behavior is driven by their own pain, insecurity, or dissatisfaction. People who humiliate others often do so out of their own emotional turmoil, and this understanding can help us to view the situation with compassion rather than resentment. By empathizing with the other person's struggles, we free ourselves from taking their actions personally, and we are able to respond with kindness rather than anger. This, in turn, protects our peace and keeps us from being dragged into negativity. In addition to practicing empathy, the Stoics also advocated for the power of perspective. When we are humiliated, it's easy to become fixated on the event and let it overshadow everything else. However, by taking a step back and considering the broader context of our lives, we can regain perspective. In the grand scheme of things, moments of humiliation are fleeting and insignificant. Life is full of challenges, and we have the power to choose how we respond to them. If we let every insult or humiliation dictate our emotional state, we will be tossed around by the whims of others, never able to find peace. But by maintaining perspective and focusing on what truly matters, our inner peace, our values, and our long-term goals, we can rise above the momentary discomfort of humiliation. A powerful Stoic exercise for handling humiliation is the practice of negative visualization. This technique involves imagining the worst possible outcome in a situation, and then considering how we would respond if that worst-case scenario were to happen. For example, when faced with the possibility of humiliation, we might imagine ourselves being publicly ridiculed or insulted. We then ask ourselves, how would I respond if this happens? By mentally rehearsing our response and preparing ourselves emotionally, we can approach the situation with greater calm and resilience when it occurs in real life. This exercise is not about expecting the worst, but rather about preparing ourselves to handle whatever comes our way with composure and strength. Another important Stoic idea is the concept of Amor Fati, which means love of fate. This principle encourages us to embrace whatever happens in life, even the most difficult and painful experiences, as part of the natural flow of the universe. Instead of resisting or resenting the humiliation we face, we can choose to accept it as part of our fate. By doing so, we free ourselves from the emotional burden of trying to control the uncontrollable. We accept the situation as it is, knowing that it is an opportunity for growth and self-mastery. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The things you think are obstacles are simply opportunities for growth." In conclusion, responding to humiliation with Stoic wisdom is not about suppressing our emotions or pretending that we are unaffected by others' actions. It is about cultivating emotional resilience and strength by practicing detachment, empathy, and perspective. It is about remembering that we are the masters of our reactions, and that our true worth is not defined by how others treat us. Through the teachings of the Stoics, we learn to respond to humiliation with grace and dignity, to use the experience as an opportunity for growth, and to maintain our inner peace no matter what happens around us. By embodying these Stoic principles, we can transform moments of humiliation into powerful lessons in self-control,